For giving us the opportunity to do this. Of course, by law, we have to present now by October 15th and submit our 5-year forecast to the state. They are requesting a 3-year forecast, and when we submit this through EMIS, it will make those adjustments for us from the 5-year that we'll show tonight, because I think that's important, to the 3-year forecast that is due. If everybody remembers, we were obligated to do this by November of every year, and they've moved this up to September. So through a lot of cooperation and collaboration with our EMIS department, today at about 1 o'clock we were still gathering the student data for this year, and as we go through this presentation, you'll see why that was important, why our enrollment is important. So then we'll be back again in February, which was once May. And this year, because of the recent change in legislation, this year, October, will move to August next year. And that will be interesting, as our appropriations aren't even adopted until September. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge, hurdle, but we will overcome that. Tonight, we have Mr. McFarland with me, and he's going to be giving part of the presentation specifically about enrollment. We're just going to take about 20 minutes here. Our table of contents, we'll introduce you again to the team. We have had some changes. We'll talk a bit about the district. We'll give some key dates that I went over briefly here a second ago, some stats and trends, enrollment trends, funding, expenditures, forecast. What do we do now? So the changes that we were talking about was Debbie Mowry retired, as did LaWanda Norwood, and that position, those two positions were combined into one. And Kim Given is our new high school treasurer, and she also helps in the as the accounts payable specialist. Our enrollment at the end of last year was 44,114. Wages equaled about 54 million. We have 9 buildings, 115 acres, which hasn't changed. Special education population of roughly 27%. Transportation costs of 7.7. We just approved appropriations of 104.4 in the general fund. With the special cost centers, that total is 145.5. Our total benefits that are paid out to our staff is roughly $21 million. Food service meals, I think we serve well over 1 million meals every year. Purchase services, last year we were at 21.5. We are looking at another reduction of about 5.1% this year in the 20 million range. And again, as I've shared, this will likely be the last year we'll be able to show a savings before some increases over the next 5 years, and you'll see that in the 5-year budget. And we have utility costs of about $1.8 million. These are some of the timelines that have been imposed on us, so it starts in July with our new fiscal year, and moving back from July, we work with each department here to build our annual budget, which all these folks here and others sit with me and Lori Rose, and we try to build a budget that makes sense. In April, we start planning to close the year, if we're working backwards here, the current year. February, again, that's where we're going to be giving you an update on our forecast. And most likely that will be the most accurate numbers that we can give you. We're checking with the state because we'd really like to come to you in November to give you a better view of where we are. And that's hard to do in August, when they would like us to give the first one. We don't even really know who all of our staff folks are. And we're still working out enrollment even into October, as like today. We're still working through enrollment and understanding who's in our district. So January, we go over our tax budget. December, we do some revenue planning. August again, September, our appropriations. So all the schools are kind of taking the blame for what's going on with our financial data right now. But the bigger picture shows that the state is really disinvesting in our schools here in the state of Ohio. Ohio's fallen from 24th to 41st nationally in state revenue per pupil. Our funding per pupil is currently at $2,672 below the national average. And in 2002, Ohio ranked 35th in the nation in state funding, K-12. And by 2023, we fell to 45th in the country in state funding. The burden from the loss of funding, of course, is falling on our local communities. And I fear that is going to become even more pronounced as we go through our 5-year forecast here. And we're hoping for some changes at the next biennium. But right now, you'll see tonight that we are projecting and expecting the worst, and we hope for the best. But the best we can do is provide you with the data that is currently accurate and most up to date in our district. So there are some just additional stats and trends. Our enrollment trends, you can see here, this was what we provided to the board in May. And boy, if I could read it, that would be great, but I can't see that far. But this is the May forecast that's in front of you right now. But this is the forecast that our consultant on the top is the forecast, our enrollment forecast that they provided to us, and of course Forecast 5, they're very tied into the state, and they provide us with numbers, and after they provide us with numbers, we make adjustments. So you have two tables here. On the top, we're showing where our consultants thought we would be in this period of our 5-year forecast. So on the top line, you'll see our prior year enrollment, 4114, that's where we start, and then we make the adjustments. In 2027, they are projecting just over 4,000. 2028, again on that top line, 3,800, just almost 3,900. Almost 3,829. And in 2030, 3,700. In 2030, 3,652. Now we take that, and this is why, and I apologize to all of you for not getting this forecast to you sooner, but again, as of 1 o'clock, we were building the enrollment projections, which again impacts everything that you're going to see coming through here. So based on our current enrollment, we are currently at 3,931. You'll see the bottom here. So we're taking that historical trend of 113 that our consultants projected, and we are adding another 70 students to that loss, which gets us to that 3,931. And again, there's some gymnastics with our programming here, but that's where we feel comfortable right now in projecting our enrollment. You'll see that number go down to just over 3,700 in 27. 3,500 in 28, 3,565. In 29, 3,382. And boy, we hope this does not happen. But based on the trends, the historical trends, and what happened this year, we're projecting just under 3,200 students in 2030. And nothing would make Mr. McFarland or I happier, and I'm sure anybody in the room, for us to be wrong. We would love for that to happen. So Mr. McFarland is here. He did a lot of work regarding the enrollment, and he is going to take us through some stats and some data regarding enrollment.
Thank you. This first one here is just a quick overview of enrollment. A lot of times it's district-wide that we're looking at for trends. This just shows you the dispersion K through 12, what we're looking at for enrollment. And again, as you see the ledger there, fiscal year 25 is in blue and fiscal year 26 is in red. Looking at the Ohio Department of Health, this was an important slide. We felt to include, we're showing an overall trend in Euclid of around mid 50% of young families that we are currently serving and educating. And I saw this as an opportunity. As a lot of local families out there, there's a lot of variables that go into this and life outside of just numbers. But the fact remains there are some opportunities here to engage with some of our young families and show them some of the great things that we're doing here in Euclid. Because as you see on this slide, we're looking at essentially what we're looking at as our retention rates as our kids go through our school district. So that top line there is first grade. What you're looking at is what percentage of our kindergartners are staying for first grade. And again, this is a fantastic representation of what's going on from that Early Learning Village presentation earlier today. We're showing great retention in grades 1 through 5. We're in the high 90s to 100% with a couple outlier 95% on the low end. When you're looking at 2026 here, these numbers are showing a little bit lower as of October 7th. I ran this on Friday, October 3rd with the data that we had available in EMIS, and it was much lower. This is changing day to day. It's largely a factor of our timelines being bumped up. Reporting is still coming in. Registration in EMIS is working tirelessly to clean up the data and get it into the system so we can be as accurate as possible. And they've been great providing this information to us. And I fully expect these numbers in 26 to continue to increase up to those higher 90s percentages. When you go down to 6th grade, you do see an enduring trend where our retention drops into the low 90s and sometimes mid 80s, and that does endure mostly back to 2018 all the way into 2025. And jumping down to 9th grade, we see a big spike back into Euclid schools, kids coming back to high school. And then in 10th grade, we have another drop back down. And 11th and 12th grade, we see a steady attrition into graduation. I think there's a lot of great things to highlight in here, like I said, and I think Ms. Turrows, as you mentioned, a lot of this stuff here, we don't have to do too many new things or reinvent the wheel, but just keep getting better at what we do. And a few new young families that we can serve and educate, and retaining a few families here in 6th grade and 10th grade and across the board can really have a big impact, as Mr. Higley will show you at the end how our enrollment can really make a significant impact on the financial outlook for our district. Did you guys have any questions on these specific enrollment data? I'm happy to come back at the end if you do. I'll pass it back over to Mr. Higley.
I'm going to go back up just briefly because Mr. McFarland, I encouraged him to do this, but he's very modest. He calls this the silver lining slide, and he's always looking for the silver lining, I think, as we all are. But this, again, as he said, shows the opportunity that we have with those new births in our district and enrollment and the opportunities that we have to attract them here. So the silver lining slide, I like it. So our annual revenue trend, this is our annual revenue trend here, going back to 2023 and projecting out through 2030. And you'll see the variances on the right side. And more interesting, I think, than this slide is the breakdown of, I'm going to, did I bring my, I did. Just give me 1 second.
Right there.
Where are my cheaters? It's the breakdown of where our revenue is what sources of where the sources of our revenue are coming from. So the red portion of these columns is our unrestricted state grants and aid, our foundation money. And you'll see that dropping significantly from 2026, where we are now, 31,998, all the way down to 21,887. Now, why is that? There's several reasons why that is. One is our enrollment. Certainly, that's a factor in there. The per pupil cost has also been decreased by the state. So now we're showing a loss of enrollment. The per pupil share from the state has decreased. And lastly, and this is going to just make everybody's day, the state is considering us a wealthier district now. Why that is? Why is that? It's that way because we went from $753 million in assessed property values to over $1 billion. It's roughly $250 million increase from where we were prior to this latest sexennial property valuations. And so with that increase in valuations, the state says, oh, they have more of a capacity to pay for their schools at the local level. So as a response, most of our taxpayers don't know that that increase in our valuation is we receive, as does the city, a very small percentage of that increase in property values. We don't see a whole lot of that at all because it's only based that any increase that our taxpayers would see is primarily in the inside millage based on House Bill 920, which protects folks from having their property taxes increased, and it just reduces the millage. And it reduces the millage for a lot of schools closer to that 20 mil floor that we heard from Mr. Botsky. And once you go below that 20 mil floor, if the equivalent is 19 mils, it's made up by the taxpayers. That additional mill is made up by the taxpayers, and that's why they're looking at making those adjustments to that 20 mil floor, because essentially that would be an unvoted tax increase on the voters. So they're trying to get rid of that, or make some kind of adjustment on that 20 mil floor to make sure that doesn't happen. So as you'll see, despite that increase in property value, you'll see a very, very modest increase in our the property taxes that we receive over the next 5-year forecast cycle. So this year we're at 33,268, and we ebb and flow a bit until 2030, where we anticipate being at 33,931. Now again, this changes. Mr. Proporis and I were talking before the meeting, and we received about $19 million in our second installment for 2025. Remember, the fiscal year for us runs from July through June. We receive taxes on a calendar year. So we're trying to project in probably February, March, and April, we'll get some in January, what those 3 installments will be. And you'll remember from last year, they pushed us out until April for us to get all of our property taxes. So it could be more. I hope this is a very conservative view, and that's kind of our job in forecasting, is try to give you a very conservative approach. So I'm hoping that in 26, instead of 33, that we replicate our installment from this year, and we collect $38 million, that we receive another $17 million, which we received in August. So we hope for that to happen, and again, there's nothing more than we would like to be wrong, both on our enrollment and this. So this is just the detailed revenue trend. And this, the top part is just what I showed you here. Tangible property tax is the public utility personal property tax. It's the PUP tax. So when you look at your operating summaries at the end of every month, what they're calling tangible personal property is actually the PUP. It's the public utility tax. And they're the same thing. But I think I would draw your eyes to line 1.035, our unrestricted state grants and aid. where you'll see about $11 million from 26 through 30 disappearing. That's the year-over-year reduction in the foundation money that we are going to be receiving starting this year and through 2030. And again, the reason for that, we're a wealthier district, our per pupil revenue has gone down, and our enrollment has gone down. Those are the three reasons. So on the expenditure side, these are the only things we can control. On the revenue side, I guess we can control some things, but it's not as easily controlled as the expenditure side. So again, if you look at the colored columns here, in 26, we're showing another 5.1% decrease in purchase services, down from 21,599. Now, we did put some contingency money aside just in case. That contingency money is not money that is planned. That fund is not planned. It's used for emergencies in the district. And last year, to give you an example, when Ms. Brown came and asked us about the cadaver table, that electronic cadaver table, she goes, I don't have a way to pay for it. That's an emergency. That's something that could benefit our kids, and that's really what this contingency fund is for, a direct benefit for our students. So we do have some contingency funds set aside in 26 as a just in case, because we realize that we reduced that budget by 5.1% again, and costs are not going down. So the directors are doing the best they can to control those costs within their department. So starting next year, we funded those purchase services more fully. And by 2030, you'll see those purchase services jump to $29 million. Now, we're hoping that we can control some of those as well. But again, this is a conservative estimate. This is hopefully a high estimate of expenditures because again, that's our job a little bit, is to give you a very conservative view of this. And then the two biggies are personnel services. And again, I can't remind people enough that our teachers, our staff, took freezes. They took very little in the way of increases. Mr. Proporis and the directors, through negotiations in 2000, was that 21, I think? And then again in 2024, we really took a long, hard look at what our teachers, what our staff at each position were earning as compared to the folks in Cuyahoga County, other school districts in Cuyahoga County. We made that correction. We feel good about where they are on the scale. In many cases, I think they're top 5, at least after negotiations they were. We're not sure where they are in 25, but I think we did a pretty good job of getting folks back to where they needed to be. I am a bit worried about our employee retirement and benefits insurance. Our benefits are increasing. We're looking at, and we still have to meet with the committee, but we met with our providers on Friday, and they are recommending a 15% increase in premiums this year. So that's most likely what's going to have to happen to ensure that we have enough in our reserve balance to pay out the claims, because we are a self-insured school district. So we have to ensure that we have enough funding in that reserve balance to pay our claims. And this just shows you the year over year, and you'll see the increase in purchase services, personnel services, and the employee retirement and insurance benefits. So this is where it gets not fun to be the treasurer. You'll see here our general fund revenues against our expenditures. In the next slide, we'll show you the variances year over year. But that green line is the line that matters. That's our cash balance. And in 2030, in this projection, we're showing a deficit of nearly $72 million. I think $74 million with the encumbrances. And things change swiftly from in between 2027 and 2028. So we are showing an annual This is where our year over year, this is where we came in at about $1.2 million deficit this year. This is what we're reporting here, year over year. So you showed a surplus through 2024, and I think that goes back even before 2023. In fact, I know it does. In 2026, on this slide, we're showing it's going to be a little bit different in our forecast. There have been some adjustments made, but not much. If you'll remember the appropriations, we were showing about a $2 million deficit in 26. Right now, we're showing roughly 3.4, I think it is. On this slide, it shows 4.2, but again, we've made some adjustments in a very conservative manner. And 13 million, 23 million, 31 million, 38 million. And again, those numbers all change. Yes,
Can I ask you a question? When you introduced the slide before this one, you said a negative of 70 million?
72 million plus encumbrances, which would bring us to 74.
But then this next slide, it shows 38.
That's year over year. That's our yearly annual.
Oh, I see. Okay, the
surplus
total
deficit.
of,
Yes.
all the way down.
These
Okay.
are the numbers that get us to that 74
I
million.
see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you. When you
Uh,
add all of those up, that's what that
Yes,
equals.
that's
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
And so this is where we've made some adjustments. And boy, good luck seeing this, but it's tough to get it all on one page. And in 2030, that's where you'll see the 74 million. So these numbers, the year over year, are modified just a bit. And again, it's an attempt for us to be a little bit conservative. Instead of that 23 and 24, for instance, or I'm sorry, in 28, you'll see 24 and then 31. So those may not match directly or reconcile directly with that page before, but again, these are based on our internal adjustments. So this is the slide I wanted to get to, and this shows our enrollment numbers and how big of an impact they have on our revenue. On the left, you see the numbers. We put this projection together. On the left is a representation of if we were just to keep the students that we currently have in the school district. If somehow we could find a way to keep our enrollment roughly or basically steady with where we are now. So you'll see on that A1 line, 2026, you'll see the 4114, and there's slight variations in this. And again, there's no scientific method to the madness here. It's just, again, you'll have some ebb and flows, but we were trying to show a rough or a consistent enrollment throughout the next 5 years that we have now. And as you look at that, if you go up to the bottom of the scale, just above that, the ending cash balance, we would go from 72 million to $36.2 million deficit if we could just find a way to keep our current student base. And again, on the left shows you that comparison about where we're projecting. So on the A2 line, again, that's the state model, that losing 113 years, and that's all based on historical trends. That's what has been modeled for us, and then we make adjustments. So on A3 is the CFO adjustments, and you'll see the adjustments I made in 27, 28, 29, and 30 to keep us at the level that we're currently at. So I added 200, 200, 60, and 100 in those following years. And that keeps our enrollment roughly static. And again, the difference in that is about $36 million in funding. It's $36 million by 2030. It's a huge difference. That's why enrollment matters. That's why we were a little bit tardy and we weren't able to give you this presentation until a couple hours before, because we were trying to count every last kid and make sure that we had them accounted for in this forecast. So in 2030, again, that number goes down to just under 3,200, and in that ending cash balance, you see that 72 million. So a couple items to consider. Obviously, the state operates on a 2-year biennium budget. It's a significant outlook for districts. The legislators, as you heard, there's quite a bit going on in Columbus. We're aware of most of them. We chose not to boggle everybody, including ourselves. This is kind of a confusing time in school finance. But we could give you all kinds of scenarios about what if. And what if one of those or 2 of those pass and the rest don't? What if 6 of those pass and 1 doesn't? So, I mean, we could what if up here forever, and it's not going to do us any good. So what we can do, though, is advocate. We can advocate with our state reps. I know Mr. Botsky is heavily involved in that. We've communicated on several weekends to provide him some information for some engagements that he was attending. The Federal Reserve cuts, though it's great when we open up our credit cards and things like that. Well, not quite yet, or we're refinancing our homes or buying a car. That doesn't help our investments at all. So instead, we are getting less of a return on the significant investments that we have in the district. So what does that mean? The lower the interest rate, the less return we're going to get on our investments, and we'll be chewing into those investments to help pay some of those deficit balances that we have year over year, which gets us, hopefully not, to that 72 million. And again, I talked about this earlier, that decreased funding based on the state's assumption of wealth in Euclid. Yes, Mr. Botsky. This is where we ended our fiscal year 25. And the reason that's 31.9 million, again, was because of the advances. Obviously, that is much higher than what we're showing. That represents a 3.5-month operating fund, approximately 3.5 months worth of operations. I don't know that that's right. Let me check on that again. But I don't think that's a correct stat there. Fiscal year 2025 was the first year we experienced a deficit since 2020. I knew it went back before 2023. I wasn't aware that it was 2020. And again, we're showing no levies or operation reductions that are forecasted in 2030 at this time. However, we are meeting with the Finance Committee in November. I truly believe that this, and yes, we have to lead that discussion, but I truly believe that this is a community issue as well as ours. And I'll be armed with all the numbers. I'll share things if asked. I will answer and make the recommendations when the appropriate time comes, but I truly believe that our community needs to be involved in this. So at November's Finance Committee meeting, we will be inviting more than what has shown up and the folks that we have selected to be on this. And we hope we get a big turnout because I think we have a pretty intriguing story to tell. So if at this time, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. I've put my contact information on there. I hope people from the community take the opportunity to call me. We would love to engage with folks and hopefully build some momentum to get us to the right people through Mr. Botsky, because I know he has all the connections. So with that, we'll take any questions.
I don't have any questions at this time. I don't.
Selena, do you have any?
No, I don't have any questions.
No questions, but just thank you as always for the insane amount of detail from the both of you. It's very much appreciated. It's obviously concerning things going on, but it's good to be up to date on them. And again, just my biggest thanks to both of you for the work and everybody else in the department.
I also want to say thank you for taking the time to give us a really detailed explanation and description of what's going on with our finances. The question I did have, you answered with the committee. I just really wanted to know what's coming forward with the committee? Like, what sorts of things are you, or strategies are you talking about? But I see that you're meeting in November, so I'll look forward to hearing that report as to what sort of ideas or solutions we could come up with.
Super. In addition to that meeting, we are meeting with the leaders of the district on October 22nd, I believe it is. But it's going to be a PD session that had to be rescheduled from earlier in this month or earlier in September. And I'm glad it was rescheduled because I truly think this needs to be a brief part of that PD. And we planned on doing that even in September. Of course, we didn't have the numbers that we have now. We didn't have the detail. So although it won't be as long as the presentation, then it will be more of a truncated overview of where we are. But we will start with some of these facts.
I also want to highlight, or I want to thank you for also pointing out the fact that we have some opportunities to engage new families, and so I'm hoping that we could soon capitalize on that opportunity,
Yeah.
so that we can improve our enrollment rates.
And this was not meant to be an indictment on anybody in the district. We just wanted to show the opportunities that we have from the time kids are born to the time they turn 5 years old. We know that we're a very transient district. Some kids may not be here, but transiency means they're coming in and they're going out. As much as go out, hopefully come in. But there is an opportunity to capture some of our younger learners. And as Mr. McFarland said, there's a great retention rate through elementary school.
Thank you.
I appreciate too, the first time that I've been able to see the data this way, that there's those decision-making points that happen at the 6th grade and then between the 9th and the 10th grade. And so that's something that can be looked at in terms of planning and making sure students receive the supports they need. And I wonder too, might we see a change in that, because I know there's a lot of reinforcements being put in place now in the 9th grade to help really get students engaged in school culture and leadership and personal development. And so it might even be that, just giving kids a sense of belonging in the 9th grade so that they're more likely to stay.
I'm just a finance guy, but it seems like Mr. Russell is doing a great job.
Yeah. It's nice to, then if you could explain to me the next page after that where it says, so that's the Euclid enrollment cohort expectations, and then the next one is the revenue trend. And I know some of this is attributed to we had extra expenses with all of the contracts that went through last year. And I'm just noticing the big difference between, 25, 26, and 27. Can you explain to me a little bit more about those numbers?
Yeah, again, this is our revenue trend. And so the negotiations don't have much to do with the revenue. They'd be on the expenditure side. However, this is where the loss of enrollment impacts us.
Okay.
The loss of enrollment, the per pupil funding, and again, us being rich, apparently.
So lack of funding from the state,
Correct.
or decreased funding.
Okay. And so then this 27 number is what you're anticipating based on
The 27,
2027 on the annual revenue trend.
yeah, that's when we're anticipating going into a deficit. And again, I'm glad that you pointed that out, Ms. Turles, because why this is important to us and why getting a handle on this is important, because we can't certify a contract unless it's vital to the district. And we can't certify contracts, sign the 412 certification, if we can't verify funds. So there may be some things that we don't, we can't continue for more through 2027.
Starting with the submission of this report.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Once this is adopted, and if we can't make any strides between then and now, yeah, we'll be limited with the long-term contracts that we can sign.
Thank you.
And Pat, I just, we talked about a few things. I don't know if I really have questions, but I just want to bring some clarity. There's a chance to review, to revise this in the coming months, because we had talked about the property tax being maybe upwards of 39 million instead of 33. When does that second installment come in for us to have a tighter number on what that would be?
January,
I didn't mean to-
February, March time, and again, hopefully the tax commission isn't late and it goes into April. But yeah, that's the purpose of presenting the 5-year forecast twice a year. Very similar to May and in November. They've moved the dates on us. So again, August date, it's not going to be good. The numbers are not going to, it's going to be that way for every school district. We'll probably be working on February's numbers and then just updating them. And again, my hope is that we come back to you before February, November, and then perhaps an update once we get our property tax, that first installment of the 2026
Yeah, because
year.
as we
Yeah.
talked before, programs and people and all that are important. You talked a good deal, and I appreciate you tidying everything up with enrollment numbers. Throughout the presentation, there was different numbers. Like there was a trend data one that looked like this, and then the next page seemed to be like different numbers. So I didn't know if you want to comment on how some of that came together. Yeah, I think it was this
right
one.
here?
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Like in 28, it shows 3771, but the next page.
These numbers were
Yeah,
from,
that's what
I should have clarified, these numbers were from our May and November forecast. So this is what we were showing back in May, and we were showing, we're trying to show you how much that can change in just a couple months.
Okay.
So those numbers were from a previous, our May forecast, and they're very similar. I didn't go back and look at November's forecast, but I have to imagine they're very similar, if not exactly the same from our November forecast, our November of
And
24.
those projections then, as you explained, show up, and I'm kind of just highlighting some things. They then show up in that state foundation line.
Correct.
Is we're like from 30-some million now down to 21.
Yeah, right.
Which is, I hate to use the word catastrophic, but we can't have that happen.
Well, I'll tell you, there is, and I don't know if it's built into the program. This is something that we will find out before November. There is a $24 million guarantee. Supposedly, we're entitled to at least 24 million in change. That doesn't reflect in the state program here. So I need to get clarification if we indeed will go down to that 21 million, or if we're going to stay at the enrollment guarantee. Oh, well, it's not the enrollment guarantee, but it's the foundation guarantee. So that's something that we're looking into as well. But yeah, by the time you leave here, unfortunately, that will be good for kindling the 5-year forecast. And so things are changing every day, and we're trying to keep up.
And then one last thing, I think it's important to point out to everyone, there was some money that was moved, what was it called, to the transferring out, or advances out?
Yeah.
About 13 million. Because our budget this year is pretty even. We're almost at zero, not including when we take that money out of it, right? We moved that to a different fund. We didn't lose it.
We advanced funds, again,
You know where I'm
because
going.
there
I
was
thought, yeah, okay.
we advanced funds because there was a 40%, we were anticipating either a 30 or 40% cap on carryover. And that's a terrible word because it's not carryover. It's pretty good management of funds from the past. But they refer to it as carryover, which is, again, a terrible word. So we had to move some funds into other funds so that it didn't show up in the general fund. So we funded the state and federal grants. We put the money in there up front that we get back throughout the month. So those funds will be coming back into the general fund throughout the year once we complete our project cash requests, they're called, PCRs. And then we do a final request at the end of the year called an FER. But throughout the next several months, throughout the year, you will see a return on those advances. Now transfers, it's important to understand this. Again, transfers don't come back to the general fund. So at the beginning of every year, we allocate funds for the turf replacement fund. That comes out of the general fund. We allocate funds for our bond debt as well. That comes from the general fund. So we just advanced those, transferred those. I don't want to confuse you. We transferred those for at least a year or two ahead of when we anticipate needing them. So next year, we won't be taking any funds from those. We won't be allocating any funds to that field fund or the bond debt.
Thanks, Pat, for explaining, Mr. Higley, thanks for explaining,
Yep.
because I think it's important to point to the board and the community that we didn't overspend by $13 million. We
No.
basically were on target with our
We're-
budget for this
Yep.
year, except we advanced that money as a strategic move.
Again, as of the May forecast, we were within less than 0.5% from
yeah.
hitting our forecast, right on the nose. And don't hold me to that standard, because I don't know what's going on at this point. But going back to November of last year, we were still right around that 1% range. So even at the beginning of the year, it was much easier to forecast when there was some clarity as to what's going on in Columbus.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.